Raising animals on the homestead can be a deeply rewarding experience, offering not just the joy of caring for living creatures, but also opportunities for sustainable living. However, transitioning from raising animals as a hobby to doing so for profit requires a significant shift in approach, mindset, and management. At Red Ridge Farm, we understand the challenges and the rewards of this transition. In today's episode, we'll explore the essential do's and don'ts of turning your passion from animal husbandry into a profitable venture, emphasizing budgeting, business strategies, and the mindset needed for success. Let's get growing. Hello, and welcome to the Pray Just Plant podcast, the show that talks about growing a garden, a homestead, a healthy family, and most importantly, growing closer to God. I'm your host, Crystal Media, owner of the Red Ridge Farm Homestead, where our mission is to help women of faith find the courage to grow healthy food for their family while building a closer relationship with our Lord and Savior. That's you. Don't let the world hold you back. Pray Just Plant. Hello, fellow growers, and welcome to the Pray Just Plant podcast. Today in this episode, you and I are going to discuss how we can, or the mindset that we should have when we're taking a hobby of raising animals to making a profit, or changing from just a hobby farm to a farm that we're wanting to make an income from. How do we do this? How do we change our mindset? What are the do's and don'ts that we need to understand before we get into this? I know when we started homesteading, it was to just create healthy food for our family. But as we grew in our homestead, how we grew in our knowledge, and we grew in telling others about the good, delicious food that we eat, a lot of other people wanted to eat it as well. So we thought about moving forward and providing extra animals, or even selling animals in meat, eggs, dairy, and other parts as in products to others. But we had to go through a lot of things to figure out how it would be different, because it's not the same. Essentially, the easiest way you can look at this, when you're going to look for a making profit, it's hard to keep the animal that's not producing. It's hard to have pets. It's hard to have an animal that may have aged out of your system and just there as an extra animal consuming feed and resources that other animals that are making money or could create a profit for you is utilizing. That was one of the big things that we've had to deal with. And today I just want to touch a little bit on those do's and don'ts, so that if this is something you're thinking about, if you're thinking about taking your hobby farm, your little homestead, into ideas and into ventures of making money on your homestead, then this episode's for you, because it's going to help lay out those simple little pieces that maybe you would not have thought of before when it comes to making money. It is a different mindset than just growing food for your family. And let me show you how different it is. First, what is the difference between a hobby farm and a profit-minded farm? Well, a hobby farm typically involves raising animals primarily for personal satisfaction, self-sufficiency, or family consumption. Financial return is not the primary goal. Yeah, you might keep track of how much feed you go through every year, but you know you're doing this for other reasons besides money. You're doing this for other reasons, like making sure that your family has good food to eat, or you're doing this because you want something to do outside. You want to get outside and enjoy nature. I know this is one reason that I wanted dairy animals. I wanted a commitment that would get me outside every day, but also provide healthy milk for my family. And being able to sell the milk on the side has been a huge benefit, but it wasn't the main reason that we started that. So in that, I've had to change my mindset to how I need to change how I breed my animals, how I raise my animals, how I take care of my animals, if I'm going to be selling milk, which is that profit-minded farming, which requires a viewing your homestead as a business. Every decision, from the type of animals you raise to how you're going to market them, is made with profitability in mind. I've had to change the way that and even the number of animals that I breed every year, and the number of animals I milk every year. I went from milking 2, maybe 3 animals at the most, morning and night, to now currently I have 4 that I'm milking, and that gives us enough to provide our whole homestead, and I mean whole homestead, with milk. So for example, when we were first doing things, we were only have enough animals producing milk that would just provide our family with fresh milk. Well, that was 2 goats. 2 goats could easily do that. That was a gallon of milk a day, which was actually beyond what we needed. So we went ahead and started feeding some of that milk to our chickens. Well, then we thought about, well, wouldn't it be nice to increase our homestead and grow beef? Well, if we could get bum calves and I could raise a few more goats, create more milk, then we could raise bum calves. So we need about 1 goat in milk for our family. We need 2 goats in milk to raise 2 bum calves, and we need a 3rd goat in milk to sell milk. So that changed our mindset of how we raised and how many animals we chose to breed every year and to put into milk every year. Now, I know those are just broad explanations of what a hobby farm and a profit-minded farm is, but the biggest difference is that you are making decisions to make money, and you're not making decisions with your heart, and you're not making decisions with the idea that this is just a small farm. Now you're going to be thinking about maybe different breeds that produce more milk if you're thinking about dairy, or you're going to be thinking about breeds that produce more eggs if you're going to sell eggs. Because having a few cute chickens on your homestead is completely different than trying to raise chickens and a large amount of chickens to produce enough eggs to sell and actually make a profit. So let's go through those do's and don'ts. Let's first talk about the do's because they're important. These are things that you do need to do. You do need to do your research. You need to understand the market demand for different types of animals and products like meat, eggs, dairy, wool, etc. You need to choose breeds that are in demand, hardy, and sustainable for your climate because you're going to need to depend on them a little bit more than you would a breed that is just for good looks. We have a huge influx around our homestead of people bringing in those long-haired cows. I can't remember what they are, but they're bringing in little miniature ones. They're Highland cows. Yeah, they're great. They are a hobby type of cow. They're not something that's going to be one that's going to produce a lot of meat or at least not a different tasting meat that you would want to sell to a consumer because consumers are going to go with what they like and what they're used to. So if you change up the type of meat or the texture of a meat by different breeds, you are going to maybe find it hard to sell your product. The next do is create a detailed business plan. If you want help doing this, I have a whole guide on exactly what you need inside your business plan. And let me tell you, they are important. We've made business plans here on the homestead, and they're so beneficial because it includes budget forecasts, marketing strategy, long-term goals, and it's pretty much a plan or a roadmap to your profitability. It shows you the steps because we're going to go over in a few of the don'ts about not overextending yourself and not ignoring record keeping. And a business plan will help lay out all of those things. And if you are needing to get a loan to start your business, a business plan is going to be required. A business plan is what you're going to be needing to show to the bank or to your partners that you want to get into the business so that they see, oh, she has not only a good idea, but she has a plan of how she's going to make it work. She has a plan to show that in the first 2 years, they might barely break even, but in the next 3 or 4, they're going to make a huge profit. She shows that this is how she's going to market her product. This is what she's going to do to get her product out there so that she can make money. Those are a huge benefit, not only to the banks, but yourself. Having a plan before you jump in, maybe might even tell you shouldn't jump in. Having a plan knowing that, oh wow, I've got to do all this marketing for selling eggs, that's just too overwhelming for me. Maybe I just want not that big a business. Maybe I just want to sell eggs to my family. Or maybe I just want to sell eggs to the neighbors down the road. Or I want to just set up a simple egg stand where I don't deal with people at all and they just come by and use the honor system to buy my eggs. Having a business plan will show you, because you find your weaknesses and strengths inside that business plan, they'll show you maybe what type of business you should do as well. Maybe you want to sell eggs or maybe you want to sell milk, but you need different venues for figuring out how to do it because of who you are uniquely. So a business plan is amazing. Do create a business plan and go grab the business plan guide if you want help with that area. Do budget carefully. Account for all your costs, including feed, veterinary care, infrastructure, and unexpected expenses. Profitability hinges on effective cost management. This could also go with time management as well, but I'm not going to go into that as well right now. But do know what you're spending your money on. Do know how much you're spending, because it can come down to, okay, I want to, as a hobby farmer, I can be really picky about the type of feed that I feed my animals because I'm only feeding one or two. So buying organic or ordering in from a long time, and it's maybe a little bit more costly than normal, is okay, because I'm not looking to make a profit. My goal is not money. My goal is health. Well, if I want to do the same thing and make a profit, then I also need to know, well, okay, if I'm buying the organic grain and I'm doing all of these things to make sure my milk is even healthier, for one, for my family, but also for others, this is how much this milk costs me. I can't afford to sell it for $5 a gallon. I've got to sell it for $15, $16 a gallon. That's what I sell my goat milk for. That's what I need to sell it for to make a profit. I even included a jar fee there. If they break or lose the jar and don't return it back to me, I'm compensated for that. And so if that happens, I'm not losing money. A lot of these quick little businesses that want to turn their hobby into a profit disappear quickly because they don't keep track of their money and they don't charge the correct prices to help them make money. Now, I'm not saying that you need to charge extravagant prices, but you do need to at least get paid back for what you're spending and maybe even pay yourself for all the work that you're doing. That's a simple part of budgeting. That's a simple part of making a profitable business. You need to know the costs. Do focus on animal welfare. Healthy, well cared for animals are more productive and marketable. Ethical practices are also increasingly important to consumers. Joel Salatin says to be transparent. If you can't invite someone to your farm because you feel that you're embarrassed by something, then you shouldn't be doing that. If that something is maybe causing you to make more money, but it is hurting the animal, then you shouldn't be doing that. Having ethical practices is very important. And sometimes when we're focused on too much of the making money part and not on the animal part, we can get things mixed up. And that's the difference. I think the biggest thing would be to not say a profitable minded homestead or a whole hobby homestead. You need to bring in those both sides of the venture. I know that hobby farmers take care of their animals a lot more efficiently because they only have a couple. And when you get into the big numbers like 20 goats or 30 goats or the big numbers, it's hard to take care of certain things efficiently, especially if you have another job on the side. So you need to be thinking, and we're going to talk about that in the don'ts too. But you need to be thinking about what your restraints are so that you can make sure on focusing on your animals, taking care of them. Do network and market effectively. Marketing is part of a business. A lot of us think, okay, well, if I raise it, people will just show up out of nowhere. That's not how it works. You have to tell people about your product. How are you going to tell them? How are you going to build relationships? Are you going to build relationships with local farmers at the farmers market or restaurants or on an online community? Your business depends on your ability to sell your product. And that also helps you understand what kind of product you're selling. If you don't want to sell wool because you don't want to get into understanding wool or how it's carded and how it's made and put into all the yarn and stuff, then that's not something you should be getting into because you don't want to talk about it. You are going to be talking about your business probably 24/7. 75% of a business, like the to-do list of a business, is marketing. The other 25% is raising animals. And we as farmers, we flip that. And we say 75% of that is raising animals because it is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than just buying a bunch of candles to sell. Those candles sit there and you don't have to worry. Maybe you have to dust them every once in a while, but you don't have to worry about them getting fed and watered every single day, about cleaning out their pens and all the etc. So an animal business is going to take a lot of time, but 75% of that is going to be marketing if you want to make money. So those are the do's. Those are simple 5 do's. I'm sure there's a lot more, especially when we bring up the don'ts. Maybe they'll bring up some more do's. So the don'ts of raising for animals for property is don't neglect legal irregularity requirements. Understand how your state laws work when it comes to selling products from your farm. Some states say that selling milk, raw milk, is illegal. Some states do not let you do lots of different things. You're going to need to understand that. You need to understand and comply with all the local regulations regarding animal farming, including zone laws and health inspections and licensing. One of the big businesses that we thought about doing here on the homestead, just because our local farmers market didn't have this product. We have people that sell beef. We have people that sell pork. We have people that sell lamb and goat, but we don't have anybody that sells chicken. And so I went in and I did all the research for it. I laid out the business plan, but it said the state of Wyoming has a law that says that if you butcher under 1,000 chickens, you don't have to get all of the health inspections and all of the licensing needed to be a full chicken farm. And that sounds amazing. But if you do the math for 1,000 chickens, it's not enough to make a profit. It's not enough to bring one person home from the workforce. It's not enough to make a business that will help pay for your family. Yeah, it's a great hobby business, but it's not a huge business because 1,000 chickens really isn't a lot. So I played around with a few ideas to help that go a little bit bigger, but then the other idea of raising 1,000 meat chickens was overwhelming. So we didn't go down that venture. But having a business plan, that's another do, right? By creating that detailed business plan and knowing what regulations that we could and could not go through helped us understand if that was a business we wanted to do in the first place. Number 2, don't overextend yourself. Start small and scale up gradually. Business plan will help you do that. Over expansion can lead to unmanageable costs and decreased animal welfare. We kind of hit on that a little bit before, but it's important. When you have a full-time job and then you're thinking about doing a business on the side, or you are taking care of toddlers, or you are very, very busy, doing a business and raising more livestock to do a business may not be something you can do because it's going to overextend yourself. So I'm not saying don't start a business. I'm saying start small and scale up gradually. And a business plan can help you lay that out. It can help you find your weaknesses and your strengths, what you have and what you need to build for the future. Maybe you don't have all the infrastructure you need. Maybe you need to build that slowly. Maybe you don't have all the education you need. Maybe you need to build that up slowly before you actually start. Or when you start with the hobby. Start learning to raise a few pigs and figure out even if pigs is something you want to do and move forward slowly. Because if you buy a whole bunch and then you find out that raising pigs is just not for you, you will become overwhelmed by all of the things, especially if your business requires farrowing, which is the birth of baby pigs and all of that and etc. It can be very overwhelming, especially when it comes to animals. Now, a business with, like I said, candles, buying a couple candles or like t-shirts like we sell here at Red Ridge Farm and Pray Just Plant podcast. I have a couple Pray Just Plant podcast t-shirts. Selling those is, I have a couple stock of t-shirts and I can sell them as I can, but those t-shirts don't demand something from me. They don't demand anything more than a shelf. And if you get into a business where you do t-shirts on demand, meaning I don't have to have them here in my home, I can just order them as I need them, or as a person orders them, it connects to another website that makes and fulfills that order for me. There's other things out there, but with animals, you can't do that. With animals, you can't have someone else. Well, you could hire someone else, but you would need to understand that. You need to understand that you need to hire someone else to help you in this venture. So don't overextend yourself, because all it will do is cause stress and overwhelm and disgust and hate of the job that you put yourself in. Number 3, don't ignore record keeping. I tell you this in the garden. I tell you this on your homestead. Knowing how much money you're spending or knowing who you bred who to and all of the things or how much broccoli you got out of one bed is going to help you. Maintaining detailed records of expenses, sales, and animal health. Good records are crucial for managing your business and for tax purposes. When you start making money, I believe here in Wyoming it's over $6,000. If you bring in more than $6,000 in a venture, then you have to file taxes. That's something you're going to do, and record keeping is going to be part of that. You need to keep your receipts. You need to know how much feed you're spending. how much feed you're buying. You need to know how much you're selling your animals for. You need to know how many animals you have. You need to know if this buck is better than that buck, or this doe is better than that doe in producing milk. I do this a lot on my homestead, especially with my dairy goats. I like to analyze the udder and give them a report on the udder so that when I'm selling that animal to someone else, if I'm done with that animal and want to move her on, that I have a report of saying this is how much she milked. This is how well she milks. This is how well her milk tastes. All of that is important because also it helps me in my record keeping okay, I have 2 bucks. I have one matriarch doe that all of my doelings have come out of. And she's had one buck that I bred her with was Golden Ace. His semen was from 1980. The does that have come out of that line, Goldie, Honey, now Ginny, all of their milk, they produce more milk than my other does, and their milk tastes better. It has a higher fat count, and it just is a more delicious and palatable milk. So I raise those animals for our milk consumption and the milk I sell. There's another strain that was another buck that I bred Amber to. She has 2 doelings from that strain, and they're more universal as in just consumption. We can use the milk. Yes, the milk is good. It feeds animals very well, but it is not as palatable. So we'll drink it if we have to, but it's not our go-to. And I know this because of the records that I've been keeping. The next is don't underestimate the work involved. I think we kind of talked about that with don't overextend yourself. But raising animals for profit requires a significant time and labor investment. Be realistic about the commitments required. It's going to be a large commitment, more than what you think it will be. Raising a few chickens, like 3 or 4, is completely different from raising 20 to 30 to even 100 chickens. Completely different management skills. And in this don'ts, maybe you need to be thinking about in your business plan of time management. How are you going to manage your time so that you don't get overwhelmed with all the work involved? The next don't is don't forget to plan for the off season. Develop a strategy for maintaining your business during slower months, whether that's diversifying your products or finding off-season market. What are you going to do in the season when everybody's not looking for eggs to buy? Because it's midsummer and people are out fishing and having adventures, and they're not making all the cakes and all the delicious goodies that you would in December when you sell more eggs. What are you going to do with that? Or what are you going to be doing in the off season of a garden? We've experienced that here in the market garden. We grow all summer long, and we had to stop selling stuff in September. So what did we do with the leftover products? Because that's when the last farmer's market was. What did we do with the leftover products? And what did we do during the off time to plan for next year? You need to have a plan to know what you are doing and how you are going to, one, expand your business, but how are you going to get a rest? Also, if you're working really hard in that growing season, the off season is a time for planning and rest. Are you allowing for that? Are you making enough money in the growing season to warrant an off-season business, not doing anything and resting? Or are you needing to do a different type of business during the winter? Maybe if you sell lamb and in the winter you teach wool classes on how to do spin wool and all the carding stuff. Maybe that's something you do in the winter. What is your plans for the off season? Transitioning from hobby farming to running a profitable animal husbandry business is a challenging but a rewarding journey. It requires a shift in mindset from viewing your homestead as a source of personal fulfillment to treating it as a business. By following these do's and don'ts, budgeting carefully, and maintaining a focus on family and animal welfare and effective marketing, you can turn your passion from raising animals into a successful venture. Remember, at Redridge Farm, we're here to support you in every step of the way on your journey from hobbyist to thriving homestead entrepreneur. And if you're ready for the next step into transferring your animal husbandry hobby into a profitable business, join our Purposeful Growing journey for more insights, strategies, and support from a community that shares your passion and ambition. Let's grow together, turning our homestead dreams into profitable realities. And if you want just a simple step, grab the business plan guide. It'll walk you through developing a business so then you can avoid a lot of these don'ts and jump into a lot of these do's. I want to thank you for joining me. If you're new, welcome to the Red Ridge Farm Fellowship of Fellow Growers. And as always, don't let the world hold you back. Pray, just plant. This episode is brought to you by the Business Plan Outline for Growers. Are you looking to make an income from your homestead so that you can either fund your dream homestead or better yet, make it easier for you to spend all day doing and growing what you love? Inside the Business Plan Outline, I'm going to show you how to break through the overwhelm and exactly what your business plan needs so you can get started today. I have spent years growing and building our homestead, but my family wanted to do more with what we grew. We wanted to build this business so that we could create an income. Yes, but also to teach our children about being entrepreneurs and what it takes to build a business from the ground up. But first we needed to answer the question, will my business plan idea grow? The only way to answer this question was to build a business plan for our growing business idea. This allowed us to get started with a little startup money, goals, and a path to success. I want that for you. That is why inside the business plan outline, I've included a complete outline of what is inside a business plan so that you can start your new business with confidence. To grab your copy of the business plan outline for growers, go to the link in the description below or go to the show notes of this episode.